So my bro, let's say we have this character with this short animation here that ends at frame 10. This is what I was telling you to make sure. Make sure the scale and rotation is applied. Like you can see, like the location is applied, the rotation is applied, and the scale is one. And for this the location changed because of I'm using a surface deform modifier for this guy, so it's messing with the Z location, but that's fine. But always make sure it's at 0, 0, then 1. Just depend. Always make sure you're applying it throughout whatever you are doing. So now, if let's say I want to export this guy, as I'm selected on only, I can let's select him. Let's select the cap, and then let's select the shoe. So file, export. Then I'm going to export as an alembic. Yeah. The Where should I put this? Let me just put it somewhere in my desktop. So I'm going to change the scale from 1 here to 100. Then selected objects and export hair and particles, remove that. So just export alembic. And then now you can see it on my desktop. So let's open Marvelous Designer. So in Marvelous Designer, we're now going to bring that alembic file here. So file, import alembic, desktop, and we press OK. Change the scale to meters here. Put this at 1. File type open, and that's basically all you need to do. And press OK. And you can see the character comes in correct. Now that part you were seeing in your this thing is here. You can see if I press here animation editor. So this just basically shows the animation. So when you have a garment, that you have made, I don't have one currently. When you have a garment that you have made and you apply it, then you press the record button to record it. So that's why I say you can put the guy in a pose, like you can be in T pose, and then you now put him in the pose you want if you are exporting stills. So when it just goes to that pose, then from that pose you now export the cloth out of Marvelous Designer. So let me show you how I export cloth out. Let me just show you with an example of the cloth I've exported already. Okay, yeah. So you can see this has been simulated because this is the garment itself. This has been simulated. I hope you can see my mouse just saying. And yeah, basically that's it. So what I do when I want to export, I first go to like UV. How do I get there? Windows UV editor, and then I just pack it into one UV. So as it's like it's just align or fit 1 to 1, something like that. Yeah, and that's just basically what I do. And then from here, I just go to File, Export, Alembic again. Choose where you want to export it. Let's also export it to the desktop. So let's save. So now for file type, the Alembic file type, make sure it is OGAWA. Then why can't I select weld or weld? Okay, if it's thin, then you can select weld or weld. But then if it's thick, another thing is that you may want thickness in your this thing. But then if it's thick, it's going to be unwelded. But then when you press L, it's going to like select side by side. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's going to select like the outer, like the two thickness, like the thickness is what makes the thicknesses are going to be like mesh. So you're going to select, if you press L, to only select one part of the thickness, and then if you press L, you now have to go inside and select the inner part of the thickness with L. I don't know if what I just said makes sense, but anyways, these are not well. And then for me, what I do is I remove this unified UV coordinate because I basically never do texturing here. So I exit and then scale in meters and then now scale it back up to 100. But sometimes if you scale it back up to 100 and you bring it to Blender, it doesn't work well. So I'm going to test it to see. So entire region, yeah, or play region only, anyone you want. So just with that, just press OK. And there we have it. It has exported. So let's bring it back into Blender with this guy. Import Alembic and desktop. So you can see with the 100, so 100 works. So When you're exporting from Blender, make the scale 100. When you're importing in Blender, meters 1, not 100. And when you're exporting back into Blender, 100. And always make sure your frame, like the frame rate of your animation, the frame rate of your animation here matches the frame rate you're also exporting and importing into Marvelous Designer with. But this is not going to line up because the animation used for this simulation is not the same as we just saw here. So you can see it's not going to line up. Then basically what I do from here to texture is, as I'm selected here, let's tab into edit mode. You can see if I press L, okay, this is welded now. Yeah, this is welded, but basically if it was unwelded, if I press L, it's meant to select piece by piece. Piece by piece. Piece by piece, if I'm correct. Yeah. Let's select piece by piece. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's make sure. Let me make sure I'm getting it right. Sorry, I hope you can understand me rambling. Hope I've not convinced you. Confused you, sorry. Hey, I selected welded, so on weld. That was my fault. So let's do that and let's tab back and delete this guy. And so you can see, yeah. So it's now pattern by pattern as it's shown in the 2D layout of Marvelous Designer. So then basically what I do is this as what we exported from Marvelous is still going to be sharing the texture, I say texture, the UV coordinates for Marvelous Designer, and then the scales don't really match up because we like scaled up and scaled down to like just make everything fit. So I come here and then I remove basically everything apart from vertices, because vertices is what controls the actual movement of the cloth. Yes, the vertex is what controls the actual movement of the Alembic file. So everything else I exit and then I go into like UV image editor. You can see this UV and then I'm selected on this guy. You can see how large it is. So I feel like they can be also one of the things that's messing up your textures in when you transfer them from Marvelous Designer to Blender, is that the scale, like, is a whole scaling issue. So then what I just do is I select them, I drag, like I scale them down. Sorry, I scale them down. I fit them into Blender's this thing, and then I just like work my way from here, go into Photoshop and do all the and like texture the clothes and bring the textures here. And basically that's how I go from like Blender to Marvelous Designer. I use Alembic and not FBX and stuff like that. So I hope I've been able to shed small light. Anyways.